Hey guys, and welcome to an epic showdown between two legendary gods of war. On the left-hand side, we have Evan Le Massif up against McFly, and I think I faced McFly a few times actually on ladders, so certainly a very scary opponent. And it is going to be the mighty forces of the Lizardmen up against the Vampire Counts. Now, I don't know about you guys, but there's always that one matchup that I absolutely despise playing. And it's nothing to do with, how the armies are ranked. In fact, Lizardmen are considered by most to have a really good matchup up against Vampire Counts, but it is one of my least favourite matchups to play in the entire game when I am Lizardmen. I actually despise this matchup, and that is because it becomes a huge box grind fest. And oh yes, we have the glorious little Doom box down here. So for the forces of the Lizardmen, we do have Temple Guard Doom box. We have 1, 2, 3, one of which is the Star Chamber Guardians, Regiment of Renowned Temple Guard. In the central pocket, we have Sacred Croxagore. This is one of the matchups where I think they can actually do very, very well. Their magic damage helps out massively up against Banshees, which are a super common pick here, because they can assassinate your characters and do damage to your big dinosaurs without taking too much in return. Speaking of big dinosaurs, we have a Feral Carnosaur, the goodest of boys. Let's give him a little neck rub there, and he's going to be coming such a good value for money dinosaur all round. A lot of the feral ones are, to be honest, but they're a pretty fun air force as well, and this is something I'm definitely going to be looking to experiment with in the future. Funnily enough, we have a Slan Mage Priest hiding in the forest. Yes, these big toads can indeed hide. Coming with Banishment, Shield of the Old Ones, Aura. We have the Blood Statue, Tempest, of course, Soul Quench, as well as Apotheosis. And I love this play. Pin them in the woods, so the enemy may get a little bit too close for comfort with their Fell Bats and Vampire Lords and so forth. And you can also whack them with a Tempest out of nowhere. Leading the Air Force, we do have a couple of little Skink Chiefs. Looks like they are coming in completely naked. They're quite big fan of that actually in general, up on the Pterodons as well as on foot. Some more Pterodon Riders as well as Ripidactyl Riders in action. A unit that I haven't used terribly, not enough basically, I don't think, myself. Although I've used the Colossus Hunters a fair amount. Facing off against him on the other side of the plains here, we do have the mighty undeadly hordes. Coming in with the chill guys around Hex Wraiths. We have Blood Knights as well. A front line of zombies. Of course, we have the Dire Pack as well. But yeah, zombies, good solid backbone to any Vampire Counts build. We also have Skeleton Spearmen in the secondary battle line. Interesting not to see any Graveguard here. I see Graveguard pretty much every single time. Going for some more interesting picks here in the form of the Chillgeist and the Blood Knights. Up in the skies with a nice little air force with the Fellbats, so disgustingly cost effective, good at chasing off troops and being very sticky all round. We have a Terrorgeist, which is a ferocious giant undead bat there, which is going to be rather scary, as well as a Vampire Lordress here on her mighty beast. She's going to be coming in with Seduction, of course, Lightning Reflexes. We have the Scepter of Stability, Enfeebling Foe, Raise Dead, as well as Invocation of Mahek, as well as the big standard breath attack. So pretty fun builds come from both of these players. Of course, the reason I said before I don't like this matchup is it's not that it's a bad matchup by any means for either of them. It's just that my playstyle doesn't really suit the kind of grindy box style of play that you need to win this. Now, Lizardmen are very good at that style of play, and you can try and skirmish the enemy. One problem I have with skirmishing up against the Vampire Counts, trying to say Coast and Counts at the same time, is that they actually have these pesky little Fellbats and so many flying units. If you do go, Umbral Tide, load of Salamanders, Razordons and the like, it's really hard to kite back consistently and stay on top of the battle throughout. But I'm sure it is definitely doable. Skink Chiefs getting a nice little bit of poke damage here onto the Vampire Lordress, as she is kind of floating back here and taking a little bit of poke damage. You might want to bomb these Fellbats as quickly as possible as well. You can really overwhelm them with all of these units diving into combat, trying to break them off the battlefield. But they do have an insane amount of HP as well. Chillgeists are going to be raining forwards, and I probably should have slowed down for the start there. Actually going to speed forward as the battle does get underway, as these Vampire troops do decide to push forward. It looks like we do have a nice little engagement now over here on the flank. The Enfeebling Foe has been popped down on the Ripidactyl Riders, and they are now getting completely surrounded by the Fellbats. But despite this, they are going to be able to chew through one unit, so they're now getting counter-attacked by the Vampire Lord as well as the Terrorgeist. They need to flee as quickly as possible, try and use the poison from the Skink Chiefs as well as those Pterodons to slow down the enemy and rescue these bad boys, because they don't want to take the fight up in the air. Vampire Counts are an incredibly powerful Air Force army all round. It looks like, though, the Ripidactyls unfortunately have paid the price for getting a little over-eager. They do destroy some of the Fellbats, but in return that is certainly not very cost-effective whatsoever, and they're now terrified and running for their lives. Blood Knights did try to dart out. It looks like, unfortunately, the Slan has had to push forward from his hide, and Spy actually really loved that play. And he's going to be popping a huge Tempest, and oh, this is going to be some glorious stuff. No, it was cancelled! It almost caught 3 units in one go, but looks like he has decided to fall back as the Vampire Count player did start to split up his forces, and now he's going to be dropping it solely on the one Lord. That would have been so nice and so powerful. Looks like we do have the magic resistance going down, though. That's a really lovely play, actually. Bringing in the stability there to allow her to not take too much damage. Still taking a considerable amount of work, actually, despite the 44% magic resistance and having to pop an invocation heck as well. I always wonder why Tempest does that little bug where it kind of pops up again afterwards, if it's deliberate or not. Some of the Felbats do eat some javelins from the skink cohort and have decided to fall back once more as the slow push of the vampire counts does indeed continue here. Ripidactyl Riders chasing away the other unit before falling back, and we're simply waiting for the big grind to begin. No early victors, really. I mean, the Ripidactyls took considerable amount of damage, but at the same time, the Vampire Lord has had to use up some of their Winds of Magic and taking some damage as well, and one unit of Felbats is down and out for the count. Little Skink Chief's going to continue to poke. They're very good at harassing the enemy. They're pretty quick, particularly because they poison and slow down the enemy that little bit more, enables them to escape rather easily. And now we're fast forward as it looks like there's going to be some little cycle charging by the chill guys there before we do get underway. Now, of course, the Sacred Cogs are actually a really good counter to such tactics because of that magic damage, and they're relatively fast themselves. We have another Tempest go down on the Terror guys, trying to catch the Felbats at the same time. It looks like the Ripidactyls do smell blood in the air, and they're going to be hunting down those bats as quickly as possible, chase them away from the main fight, as that Terror guys takes disgustingly huge amounts of damage. It is getting Invocation Heck to keep him nice and topped up. Double Skink Chiefs, though, continue to harass where possible. Down here, the Chill guys constantly trying to do some nice cycle charging, but they're up against the Star Chamber Guardians, and to be honest, they've lost more health from doing this than they have kind of gained by doing damage back. Sacred Croc Score have managed to slay 2 of them. Star Chamber Guardians a whole mighty 3. And this Terror Geist is in trouble. It's down to half health despite the fact it's already taken a hill. Looks like he's going to be trying to take his flying units over to this flank to really beat down the Ripidactyls where possible, who are desperately trying to hunt down the Felbats. Now, the Felbats may want to turn and engage, just kind of loop up and around towards the big dragons, and then turn and fight to try and pin in the enemy where possible, as the rest of the undead force is really stagnant at the moment, slowly coming around, trying to actually get the high ground here. So it's actually a really good slow play. Simply wrap around your opponent's box, get the high ground, and then start pushing down, get every little bonus where you can. Looks like we've had a big breath attack as well go down on the Temple Guard. But the main fight we're all to see is this big air engagement over here. Ripidactyls have been pinned in by the Felbats. This is a really good play by the Vampire Count player. Ripidactyl Riders are wavering at this point and will be chased from the battlefield as well if their leadership does get too low. There's no way the Felbats will let them go. One unit has about gone down here, so they did manage to take down 2 units of Felbats, but that's certainly not going to be paying for themselves by any stretch of the imagination, and the Lord shall be feasting upon them if he can just catch them that little bit quicker. Skink Chiefs have used up about half their ammunition, just consistently poking down the Terror guys, doing some nice long-range damage, certainly looking for the long game, and so is the Vampire Count player, really not wanting to engage in the front line, still attacking at all opportunities, but looking for those big fat breath attacks to charge up once more to really rain hell from above down on top of the Temple Guard. But playing it slow is also a bit of a problem. We've had many overcast Tempests coming down, and yes, sure, you can heal, but eventually you're going to hit your healing cap, and you can only heal so much. Both Terror guys taking huge amounts of damage so far. One Terror guys, one dragon. Skink Chiefs are going to be floating away for the moment, continue to harass and just annoy the Terror guys where possible. Chill guys as well have certainly taken a little bit of work. In the front lines, Blood Knights have finally decided to engage, get a lovely little charge onto the back of the Temple Guard, but a little bit slow to pull these guys out, and the Feral Carnosaur has managed to react, as well as the Sacred Cock Score. Many a Blood Knight has been felled this day, and again, it's like, oh, we can heal them, but can you? You have so many different units to heal up. Overcasts may be necessary. Terror Riders have used up all their ammunition and now are going to be kiting back away from the Terror Geist once more. Skink Chiefs continue to do that little bit of poke damage as well. Sacred Clock Score getting a little over-aggressive here, but at the same time that unit of Blood Knights is basically doomed. They've gone down to 18 models, wavering and crumbling. They certainly need a little bit of love. And it looks like the Vampire Count player is finally going to be engaged in the front line. I think he should have just done it straight from the off, distract the Temple Guard where possible and then cycle charge with the cavalry. But you know, that's just my opinion on the matter, I suppose. Looks like the Blood Knights, the Chill guys, as well as both the big baddies are all going to be getting an invocation, but still the skinks persist. Going to be very interesting to see the damage value on these chiefs at the end of the day. They do have to make a decent amount back to pay for themselves on top of their Terrorons. They are far more expensive than they would be on foot. But again, it gives them the mobility and able to contest the air game. And yes, the vampires are the dominant force in the air in this instance, but they don't have the speed to catch up with the enemy. The bloodied Ripidactyls still somehow surviving as well. A few javelins are being coated into zombies as and kind of the front line engagement as it does slowly start to form. But once again, we are going to fast forward here just a little bit while the Counts player does decide on their next moves. Looks like he's simply trying to fall back with the Felbats where possible. It's a perfectly valuable tactic as well to try and save up with those breath attacks, but it looks like we are slowly coming towards the main fray here. I promise it does start at some point. One of the Skink Chiefs does get a little over-eager here, and unfortunately gets terrified and beaten back, but it is a bait-and-switch maneuver as another Tempest comes in. We can see the healing cap has already been hit on the Terrorgeist and the Vampire Lordress as well. Despite the fact she keeps popping that 44% magic resistance, which is an item I haven't actually seen before. There's a Scepter of Stability there, but despite that, it's still taking huge damage throughout, and it looks like some of the zombies are being sacrificed onto the Skink cohorts and into the fray, which can be used to bunch up Temper Guard, where you can then do big fat breath attacks, but it looks like the Lizardman player is simply going to be committing Skink cohorts to the main fight instead, having all his big baddies in the back here, waiting for the enemy to pressurize. Skink Chief is once again, looks like he got caught up on a tree there accidentally, but he's going to be turning and doing a little bit more poke damage once more with his nice little javelins and his blue darts onto the Terrorgeist, who is now down to about half health, and there's simply no healing left for him. It looks like the Pterodons are flying overhead with the Ripidactyls, just letting the enemy know we are here and we can smell your fear. Temple Guard have now finally decided to engage in the front line, and they got some really awesome attack animations, particularly the Star Chamber Guardians, those magical halberds swinging above their heads, carving their way through rotting flesh, and it looks like even the Slime is coming forward to inspect the enemy, see if they are up to standard. Skeleton Warriors are now committing to the main line. Corpse Kite is vibing in the back, getting ready to pop in here and try and assist where possible. Up in the air, it looks like Ripidactyls do decide to go after the Vampire Lord, which isn't the worst idea, but seduction has been popped on them. Going to be turning them to absolute damp noodles. A big banishment does go down on the Chill guys. Going to be doing some nice damage. They are going to get pulled through it as well. Not as much damage as I would expect. I suppose most of the models are in relatively safety here. Ripidactyls have finally been forced off. Many spells were cast on them, though, and they were a big pain in the butt at the end of the day. Pterodon Riders just going to be escaping where possible, as the Skink Chiefs do run out of ammunition at the moment, which is a little bit of a worry for them, but they've certainly done some decent work and good harass so far. Skinks mopping up Skeleton Warriors in the front line with the help of some rather brave Temple Guard. Up in the skies, Pterodons are simply just going to fall back. I mean, the Terrorgeist and the Lords really not getting their value. They need to be floating over the main battle and doing those big fat breath attacks down the Temple Guard. I know we got one good one earlier, which did half health from Temple Guard, but imagine doing that now whilst the ground forces commit and you're cycle charging with the cavalry, really trying to win that air dominance first. But at this point, the Lizardman player doesn't really need to commit. He's used up all his ammunition in the sky, simply kite back with the enemy, and it looks like the Vampire Counts player does know this now, so he's going to be trying to dart down and cycle charge where possible with the Terrorgeist and the Chill Geist, with the Skeleton Warriors charging into the fray, catching the Temple Guard in the rear, and the slow grind is now upon us. Sacred Clock Scar are just going to be bouncing around. These guys are the ultimate earthbenders. They have some really cool animations where they punch the ground and big rocks will come up, and they punch rocks into the enemy faces. And the Vampire Lord does now dart down onto the Temple Guard with the help of the Chill guys. And this is a good play by the Counts. You pull one unit of Temple Guard away from the rest, and then you jump on it with all your big heavy hitters. And yeah, you may be anti-large, big damage dealers. It doesn't matter when you get hit and surrounded by so many troops. Lovely counter punch though coming in by the Lizardmen. Sacred Clock Score with no mobility coming in to push away these troops. It was a little bit late on the trigger there. Temple Guard going down to about half health. That was a really nice catch there by the Counts, but they have left their corpse cart behind, who can now get surrounded. It looks like the Pterodons may even come in for a little bit of a bombing run. Their bombs are still, of course, active, and the little Skink Chiefs, I believe, come in with bombs here. You can see them dangling underneath the legs there. Once again, the Chill guys come in with that glorious cycle charge, trying to isolate these Temple Guard. Carnosaur is over on this left-hand side, as well as all the other units, and waiting in the back, so we do have the Dire Pack in case anything gets left behind, and it is getting very grindy here. Temple Guard do have the aura popped on them, increasing their armor and melee defense, and getting an apotheosis to keep them in action. This poor little corpse cart is really stuck at the moment, surrounded by nasty, gigantic flapping birds, as well as the Star Chamber Guardians and the Sacred Croxagore. And corpse carts are really good if they survive a long duration. They can certainly pay for themselves, but this one isn't having a good day at all. Damage value a mighty 1. Not good look for the corpse cart. The Slum getting in the action a little bit as well, up to 30 kills. A lot of them probably were on the banishments, and it looks like the Terrorgeist is going to be flighting up overhead now, doing a big fat attack down upon the Star Chamber Guardians. No switching the attack actually to Slan. big Dragon Breath doing some lovely, glorious work, but it looks like the Slann did manage to dodge the Death Shriek. One thing the Vampire Count player has done very well so far is those Dragon Breath attacks. Looks like they've managed to half health Star Chamber Guardians as well as another unit as well with the first one. And once again, we have an isolation over on the right-hand side. It's so hard to keep all your units so tightly compact up against the vampires because of those breath attacks. But this unit of Temple Guard has been isolated. All the heavy hitters come in. We have an Seduction being popped as well, despite the Feral Carnosaur's best efforts to get in here and push away those characters. And normally these guys are about to stand and fight this with Seduction popped, because of the good work up in the skies by those little Skink Chiefs and Ripidactyl Riders, these guys simply cannot afford to fight a full health and battle-ready Carnosaur. Looks like the Blood Knights are going to be falling back as well. Temple Guard need to just realign a little bit, grab this unit, pull them back round behind this rock, and fight together once more. The Feral Carnosaur as well looks like he's going to be falling back where possible. The Hex Rays have come in for a nice little surround. It looks like the Dragon Lord is going to be committing, and the Terrorgeist is on approach as well. This Feral Carnosaur with Seduction still popped is starting to struggle. Star Chamber Guardians do emerge, and a shield of the old ones is popped to allow the Feral Carnosaur to fight a little while longer. It looks like we do have another banishment going down, but it was dodged rather successfully here by the Hex Race. They're definitely going to be the main kind of focus for that big old banishment there. Maybe able to fall back, and the banishment doesn't do too much damage to be honest. Catches a few skeleton spearmen, nothing too crazy. The other Terrorgeist though did overstay its welcome a little too long, and the little Skink Chiefs going in, nipping at the heels of the big beastie. But if you pull the lion's tail, you better be ready to suffer the consequences. If this Terrorgeist turns and engages, it is going to roast and destroy these Skink Chiefs in a matter of seconds. It's still a big beastie. In comes the dragon as well, and the little skinks that dreamed did so good throughout the battle have finally been caught. This one's certainly going down. The other one looks like he may be able to escape just in time. And yeah, there he goes, terrified and forced off the battle. This entire battle has taken place in this kind of little corner. It started over here, and it's been slowly being pushing more and more to the left-hand side. And it looks like the Terrorgeist may be going down there. He is crumbling quite badly. Minus 15 leadership is not a good look whatsoever. And with the Terrorgeist down, it's certainly going to be very tough for the Vampire Counts into the late game. However, another good isolation. This is a really good example of how you play the Counts up against Lizardmen. This unit of Temple Guard gone down. I think it's just happened slightly too late. Should have been happening earlier on in the battle from the Counts, but very good play, kind of pulling these guys apart. Another big Death Shriek does go down on the Star Chamber Guardians, doing some really nice work as the Skink Chief does start to pop over, say hello to that Terrorgeist and avenge his friend up in the skies. And he's taken the fight in the air, but one big hit. Skink Chief is all of a sudden in big troubles and has to dart away instantly. Big Soul Quench going up into the Vampire Lord, doing some good work from the Slann Mage Priest. Looks like the Skink Chief did manage to load the leadership enough of the Terrorgeist and then fall back. We have Pterodon Riders as well starting to nip in. It does commit down to the ground just to try and get a little bit more value here while it still can in the end game. St. Croix Ghost can simply now turn though and pummel it to death. What a glorious sight, as it does unfortunately get killed there by the world's greatest earthbenders. Feral Carnosaur slowly going to be dragging its way back to the Temple Guard. You can see they have reformed ranks. Got to be a little careful here. I don't like the tuners completely exactly stacked on top of each other like this, because I believe there is one breath attack left from the Vampire Lord, and that'd be rather disgusting stuff. And they are now getting charged in the rear by the Chill-Geist and the Blood Knights at the same time. And the Lizardmen, despite having some pretty good playing and some good catches up in the air game, are looking very thin on the ground at this point. Battle's been going on for 17 minutes. It did take a very long time to get going, but it's certainly been a big grindy meat fest, which is what you love about this matchup and what I hate about it from a playing perspective. But watching it, you can see the actual tactics which do go on here as far as isolation goes from both players. Up in the air from the Lizardmen and down on the ground by the Counts. We are seeing some cycle charging. These guys need to stay in there a little while longer, I think, to actually get that damage flowing. But I suppose they're a little bit scared of taking damage in return. Feral Carnosaur is very healthy at this point and doing a pretty decent job. But a lancing charge from the Blood Knights do charge in heroically, and then cowardly fleeing as quickly as possible. But nicer kind of pulling the Blood Knights, pulling them out, then pulling in the Hex Rays and just going tag teaming as much as possible. And the Feral Carnosaur taking a ton of damage in one go, nearly breaking his leadership, but a well-timed Cold-Blooded is going to keep him nice and happy. Big Fat Seduction has gone down, which is a lovely air of effect ability, affecting all of these troops. Very powerful, much like the Helm of Discord. But the Slann is leading the forces. And funnily enough, Slans, they don't have the best melee attacks, but they have a lot of pretty decent weapon strength, I believe. 320, and they do magic damage. They're very good up against Banshees and these pesky Chill-Geist here. And the Skeleton Warriors are slowly crumbling. Once that does happen, these units are going to have to commit a little bit more, because nothing to saturate in on. It looks like the Direpack are just about done at the moment as well, trying to stabilise at -5 leadership, and is only dropping from there. Big Beam of Light goes up into the air as the Slann Mage Priest does drop his buffs once more, increasing the battle prowess of all his nearby troops. Star Chamber Guardians, 209 disgusting kills. unfortunately, a very sad Sacred Croc Squad down here on the ground at the moment, who has been slain. The big Vampire Lord does come in for an assassination attempt once again on the Feral Carnosaur, as the Temple Guard are a little bit distracted. It looks like the Sacred Crocs are coming in for a bit of a counter-punch. Hex Wraiths as well, though, coming in for the nice surround, but it looks like for the most part the Carnosaur is having a whale of a time. He's come a little bit stuck up at the moment. There's a tail wagging in the air, but he's still about half health. There's some Apotheosis left in the bank as well. You can see the Skink Chief is once again terrified, and some of the Temple Guard are terrified. Not something you see every day. There's not that many units left at all for both players. Sacred Crocs are going to get a lovely counter charge though onto the Hex Wraiths. This is a big problem for them. These Croc Squad just wailing on them, beating the snot out of them. It looks like they may indeed crumble into dust as well. No, maybe they'll just about rally. Only 9 models left. Feral Carnosaur in the distance, though, does get his favourite snack, which of course is Dragon, and clobbers that Vampire Lord. Some big hits in the rear, down to 1,000 health, although did crumble there a little bit briefly as well. And it looks like the Lizardmen will most likely take this game, but saying that, Sacred Croc Squad on this left-hand flank have been isolated. Blood Knight's going to be completely surrounded them, and they have unfortunately rampaged, so the Lizardman player not going to be able to rescue them. Saying that, looks like he's pretty committed. Feral Carnosaur as well as Star Chamber Guardians launching themselves into battle. Cold-Blooded popped as well to negate the rampage. Beautiful save there by him. He's played a really good game so far. Blood Knights do manage to escape though, and the Slime Mage Priest needs to kind of bounce back over here as well. He has left one unit of Temple Guard behind, and it looks like the Vampire Count player does notice this and going to be jumping down, helping finish these guys off, and they do instantly break from the big old fat charge from the dragon. Honestly, I don't blame them. There's only, what, 12 of them left, and a big scary undead dragon coming at you. What can you say? Yeah, Slime's over here. What he doesn't see, what he doesn't know can't hurt him. Blood Knights are charging now uphill into the Feral Carnosaur. It's so funny this battle's come all the way to the map edge from where it started over here. And it looks like a few more units are rampaging, which is the Feral Carnosaur. It's a little bit worrying because Seduction is currently popped, and maybe the Lord has another breath attack, but I think he's used them all up, or she's used them all up by this point. Cold-Blooded once again popped on the Feral Carnosaur to keep it fighting. And with the Sacred Croc score going to the end, looks like they've gained a chevron, 151 kills from the big guys. People consider them a bit of a meme, but this is one matchup in particular I think they actually can be very competitive and pretty good all round. Blood Knights are being forced off at this point, and it looks like armor losses do set in as the dragon falls from the sky. And the vampires do weep tears this day. A Pyrrhic victory, an incredibly long game there from both these guys, but a really interesting one as well, and that's why I wanted to show you. We did, managed to fast forward through most of the early posturing as well anyway, but it was a game of how you play this matchup pretty much. It's not a matchup I particularly enjoy because of this, but yeah, really good box play all round. Nice stacking of buffs as well by Evan Le Massive here, but McFly as well been a masterclass of isolation. We saw it from Aerocrastic a couple of replays ago on how you break a formation very quickly, and McFly as well, taking a note out of his book and trying the same thing, and it worked very well for the most part. He managed to make it a very Pyrrhic victory, and we'll go through the stats in a second anyway, but I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, feel free to give the video a big old thumbs up, it really helps out, and feel free to comment down below. I do read through all of them, though I cannot reply to them all anymore because you guys are so generous with so many replays. So many comments, sorry, on all the replays. If you want to see your own replays up on the channel, feel free to join my Discord. There's a link down below in the description. There's also a link to how you can support my channel via Patreon, or you can press that big old blue join button on YouTube, and you can become a member of the Royal Duck Guard. But anyway, let's go through McFly's build first. The Vampire Lord up in the skies did a really good job. 2.5k damage value, 13,000 damage dealt. Now the one problem though, I think he needs to commit to the cycle charging slightly earlier with the Dragon and the Terrorgeist, because the air game really did not go McFly's way whatsoever. Yeah, he managed to win it in the end, but the amount of damage and time he lost was absolutely huge. Core Zombies simply here to die. One of them got 10 kills. That's a very impressive zombie right there. 10 whole kills. Good work by him. Skeleton Warriors as well basically did absolutely nothing, simply were there to die. And the bigger, heavier hitters, well, the felt bats as well, kind of just, floated around and were basically a big pain in the butt. But the heavy hitters, let's see how they perform. So the Blood Knights, 1.8k, and they've been really good cycle charging throughout, nearly 9,000 damage dealt, impressive work by them. The Chill guys suffered a little bit more, mainly due to the amount of magic damage. We had the Star Chamber Guardians, we had the Slime Mage Priest, the Sacred Croc score. They did get neutered a little bit there, but still, 869 damage value isn't too shabby. Corpse Cart got a little bit isolated, unfortunately. The Terrorgeist up in the skies, 1.3k damage value. Pretty good work from him and the Dire Pack. As for Le Massif himself, pretty good work, well, very good work all round by him. That Slan Mage Priest got 3,676 damage value. Absolutely insane work. Of course, a lot of that was from those big fat tempests. We had the banishments. I believe one soul quench did get popped off as well at the Lord in the Sky as a little bit of a warning shot. 12,000 damage dealt. Beautiful play. And yeah, this mage here, as well as Maz Domini, can be very good in this matchup. And I love the tempest there. The little skink chiefs who dreamed, this is beautiful work by here. So they're a little bit more expensive. Normally they're 350 on foot, but I can't remember exactly off the top of my head how much they are on top of their little mount, but it certainly bumps them up to kind of like the 1,000 mark, I think, or maybe that's a bit much, maybe 750, but somewhere around that ballpark. So they did brilliant. 1.7k damage value on this unit, 2.4. The value is absolutely insane. And how pivotal it was on the battlefield. Just slowly poking down that dragon, slowly poking down that Terrorgeist, therefore meaning they had way less impact when the actual full battle did come, fully fledged and involved, and the blood and thunder started flowing. Temple Guard did a good work as well, 926 damage value on this unit, 118 kills as well, 1.1k here, 1.7. The Star Chamber Guardians are such a beautifully aesthetic unit, but at the same time they're very powerful themselves. The Skink Cohorts, only 428, but still, that's kind of pace themselves, I suppose. We have the Ripidactyl Riders up in the skies. They struggled a little bit, but did a role well of escorting the Skink Chiefs. That was kind of their main job. Managed to kill a few bats as well in their past time. Take Croc score, 1.3k damage value. Really well played. Lovely counter initiation unit all round to countercharge the Blood Knights and the Terrorgeist when they danced in. The magic as well being really niche, and it looks like they actually managed to gain a Chevron. Ferrocarnosaur was okay health-wise at the end. Still could have been healed up a bit more. 1.7k damage value. Very good performance by him. And these Pterodon Riders, 835 is pretty decent stuff. I'm not even sure they used their rock drops. They could have dropped down the heads of the enemy at the death. Anyway guys, hope you enjoyed. Until next time, peace, peace. And as always, stay awesome.